Sayali Joshi, Sydney, Australia. I had been doing yoga for a decade before I realized that was to be my path henceforth. I wanted to train with someone who could provide me with an in-depth knowledge of yoga asanas and pranayama, and what is beyond them, something that I only had a vague idea about. Neil Kulkarni not only provided me with an excellent training of the former, the topics I was familiar with, but he gave me access to yoga philosophy and chanting through his teaching, something that books and CDs cannot replicate. Through his teacher training, the unformed questions in my mind became clear and precise, and I was fortunate to find their answers too, which clearly defines my path ahead, that of imbibing that philosophy personally and teaching yoga to others. Neil Sir has a very unique teaching methodology, but it is extremely effective. I would like to thank him for showing me the way. Additionally, I would like to note the points I made when I observed Neil's classes as a part of my teacher training. 1. Structure of the classes is well defined and it flows well. 2. Communication with students is effective and all problems queries are addressed. 3. The exercises are adapted to the level of the class and are introduced with steps which lead to the final pose, which gives a sense of achievement. 4. Emphasis is more on the exercises and its benefits than on the names of poses. 5. Very unique way of noting the points of the pose makes student aware of his own body and they do it. 6. The pose in the class is perfected at whatever stage possible. 7. Concepts core to teaching method like observe from inside are integrated with the exercises. 8. Prayer said to start and end. It was a great learning experience to do these classes. Sayali Josh, Sydney, Australia. November 28, 2012. Final report. I have been practicing yoga as a student for more than a decade. I have been a dancer and dance instructor for half of that time. I have naturally been drawn to teaching yoga and found the opportunity to do my yoga teacher training with Mr. Neil Kulkarni using the authentic yoga system of Neil Kulkarni registered. I was looking at strengthening and technically correcting my own yoga practice, which I have been able to achieve through the authentic yoga system approach. Through this course, I have had a chance to interact with and teach groups that were varied in age, fitness levels and lifestyles. These experiences have been helpful to understanding of the teaching methodology. This course has enriched my understanding of yoga philosophy and yoga science, enabling me to understand the definition of yoga beyond the asanas. Observing different classes taught by Neil Kulkarni has brought home the importance of following various core concepts of yoga, and this entire course will definitely shape my journey as a yoga teacher. I look forward to spreading the joy of yoga. Truly yours, Sayali Joshi, Sydney, Australia, November 29, 2012. Savita Pawar. I have just completed my teacher training RYT 200 in Pune with Neil Kulkarni Sir. I am very lucky to have found both a flexible schedule and a valued knowledge. Yoga philosophy is basic to the students who aspires to make yoga a part of their life. Neil is very good yoga philosophy teacher. He uses Patanjali and many other ancient and current thinkers' interpretation of yoga philosophy. As part of my teacher training, I used to write daily log for my yoga practice, and Neil Sir used to check that very seriously. This practice proved very useful to me and I will continue this further also. Only suggestion I would like to make is Neil Sir should create reference material for certain important yoga poses with all his concepts included in that. Thank you. Savita Pawar, July 21, 2012. Vanessa Bodley, Madison, Y, USA. I just completed my teacher training in Pune with Neil Kulkarni. His teaching style is very unique, authentic and is based solely on the needs and ability of the individual. My own practice has progressed tremendously while studying with Neil due to understanding of his concepts, his innovative way of using his surroundings to teach, and the building of each posture. While immersed in the Indian culture, I was able to meet Sanskrit and Vedic scholars, which helped enhance my knowledge and understanding of yoga philosophy. Yoga is a lifelong practice that requires discipline and patience. With Neil's teachings and guidance, I have more confidence within myself to pass this knowledge to others and to further explore the path of yoga. Neil has a wonderful personality and is a genuine teacher. I am unable to thank him enough for this life-altering experience. Vanessa Bodley Madison, YUSA. Melanie Savia, Virginia Commonwealth University, USA. April 14, 2012. I have recently completed Neil Kulkarni's teacher training course and would suggest this program to any serious yoga student. I began teacher training via Skype from Virginia, USA, whereas Neil was teaching from his yoga school in Pune, India. As an university student, I am very lucky to have found both a flexible schedule and a valued knowledge. I quickly made use of Neil's yoga philosophy inside and outside my yoga exercise. As time passed, the spectrum of yoga subjects broadened and I found myself swimming in learned yoga concepts and deeper curiosity. This curiosity led me to the purchase of 3-week-long journey to India over my winter holidays. Such a fortunate opportunity has given me a glimpse of the deep-rooted culture in India, that has hidden inside its carved temples and disguised in flawless Sanskrit script. Neil introduced me to many sincere yoga students from all over the world and filled my mornings and evenings with classes to teach. Neil has graced me with an irreplaceable experience that words cannot accurately convey. I am proud to continue my path in yoga, coming from a system that has upheld even the authenticity of its name. Melanie Savia. Virginia Commonwealth University, USA, January 2012. Chinmay Pai, Cummins Engineering College, Pune, India. I recently did teacher training with Neil Kulkarni. Oh wait. Let me tell you my story. I was doing my yoga practices since 5 years. But I always felt a need for an experienced yoga teacher. I met Neil in Pune. That time, I wanted to join general group classes. But as I started gaining interest in yoga, he suggested me to consider the teacher's training. At first I didn't get it, why need of teacher training so early? But as the teacher training started, I started getting an understanding of the concepts of Neil's authentic yoga system. He taught me to get into deepness of the pose, observing from inside, and a lot more. I would never have understood the importance of yoga philosophy if it weren't for Neil. Teacher training was a wonderful experience that included learning yoga concepts, giving classes and visiting historical places that are important from yogic point of view. I must say that Neil's style of teacher training is very unique. Anyone who is interested and sincere can do this training. It's not like if you do headstand then you are good student. It depends on one's seriousness and ability to pick up more and more from the yoga study. Well, I wish him all the best, and may he breathe well. J. Chinmay Pai. Cummins Engineering College, Pune, India, January 2012. Darshana Deshpande. My name is Darshana. I belong to Pune city in India. I started my teacher's training with Neil in July 2011. As I started learning from him, I realized his style of teaching was unique. He never forced anything upon a student. His teaching included concept pattern. Every concept has been explained considering its involvement in yoga exercises. I benefited a lot from his teaching. I taught some yoga classes during and after my training, and got good feedback from all the students. I am still improving myself through his tips and by attending his classes whenever I get time. I wish him all the very best for his work in yoga and may every student get kind and friendly teacher like him. Darshana Deshpande, Pune, India. January 2012. Raghu Ram Allah. I have benefited greatly from the yoga classes that I have taken from Neil in terms of improving my emotional stability and health. After that experience, I decided to go for Neil's teacher training so that I can understand the concepts of yoga exercises more in depth. Neil's teacher training gave me insight into the concepts that are used in his yoga exercise classes. They have also provided me more insight into how to pursue spiritual goal-following path of yoga. Now, after completing my teacher training with him, I am still learning, but the difference is I feel I am more equipped with the knowledge and understanding that I got from the teacher training course. Also, before I end this, I would like to mention one important thing about Neil and his expertise with dealing with people who have injuries and providing them with yoga exercises to recover. I am an example of this myself. I have been getting special routine to help with my cervical spine problem, and I am amazed by his understanding of different muscles and nerves and his ability to give routine that would help with dealing with my problem. I am still continuing his routines regularly and would surely recommend his classes to anyone I know. Thanks to Neil for helping me, and I feel very lucky to be his student. Regards, Raghu Ramala. Ildiko, from Hungary. Dear Neil, thank you for everything. I think Neil is a great person. His teaching skills are interesting and unique. First, I thought that he lacks the capability of giving his knowledge to others. Then I started to realize that his goal is not to give out his knowledge. It's impossible. You have to learn and get the experience by yourself. Through regular practice and watching yourself, you will get all the skills of teaching. You cannot learn that from books. His concepts are valuable. I especially like the way of teaching the poses in stages. It's very useful for inexperienced yoga practitioners and also for the advanced students to get into the final position gradually, preparing the parts of your body by focusing on all the points. Otherwise, I still think that the practical side of the training is lacking, that is too short. I could benefit from his deep understanding of yoga that he has gained during his life. I wish his teacher training had been longer. I'm grateful for everything that I got out from his training, and I will definitely always keep his concepts in mind and try to improve. Namaste. Ildiko, from Hungary, 2008 teacher trainee. Authentic Yoga Teacher Training Evaluation, May 22, 2007. I am a recent graduate of the Authentic Yoga Teacher Training Program with Neil Kulkarni. I am a licensed special education and early childhood teacher. I have taken various trainings on teaching yoga to children. Over the years, I felt that something was lacking in my training. I wasn't quite sure what that was until I took the Authentic Yoga Teacher Training. There is a plethora of teacher training programs available for yogis and yoginis to obtain a teaching certificate. After careful thought and consideration, I had decided I wanted to learn from a teacher that grew up practicing from childhood and studied yoga as an ancient science from the Eastern perspective. When I found Neil Kulkarni and the Authentic Yoga, I knew this program would be the most suited for my needs. Neil's training is composed of standards that must be covered in any yoga teaching program. However, he tailors the program to meet the goals and needs of his students. A teacher considering this program can request topics of interest in addition to the key concepts that are required to further personalize the training. I was initially apprehensive because of his non-traditional approach. Many higher education curriculums and yoga curriculums are predetermined by the instructor. In the Authentic Yoga School, the teacher training program deviates from the standard way of learning when Neil takes the student's background and experiences into consideration and includes them in developing the syllabus for the training. The training will still have standards that must be met to be a qualified yoga instructor, but you have the option of personalizing it to your own teaching and practice by being given the opportunity to make decisions about what you would like to learn. If you like to have input into your learning, this approach will meet your needs. In the Authentic Yoga Teacher Training, Neil teaches yoga from a classical perspective. Based on his experience and years of study, Neil has developed a program to teach yoga to people of all abilities and backgrounds. Authentic Yoga's teaching concepts emphasize the importance of setting goals and matching the goals to your yoga practice. Neil's book, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Proper Chanting and Translation, and Yoga Philosophy DVDs were key components of my teacher training. As a teacher in training, I learned yoga from a historical and classical perspective. Neil's knowledge of yoga philosophy enabled me to develop an in-depth understanding of the purpose of yoga and how I could apply it to my life and daily practice. In addition to yoga philosophy, Neil instructs students in chanting to help a humble student of yoga contemplate the meaning of the Yoga Sutras. Another key component of the teacher training was meditation from a classical perspective and how to incorporate meditation into our yoga practice. Yoga is not simply defined as doing asanas. Its greater purpose is to unite ourselves with our highest nature. Through authentic yoga's teaching concepts, an individual is able to begin a path to find their deepest potential through experiential self-study. Having taken Neil's training, workshops, and yoga classes both as a participant and observer, I strongly believe his approach will help all individuals find a path of yoga towards peace and self-awareness. Asanas as done from the authentic yoga style is approached very differently than what is presented in most studios and gyms. Asanas are taught from daily student practice and experience. A script to instruct a student in a pose is not provided to teachers, nor are anatomy and physiology taught in detail. What is emphasized is how to break the pose step by step to prepare students for a pose. In addition to seeing the poses in parts, Neil teaches how the pose feels from within, both with the mind and as a skeleton. His method of demonstrating step-by-step procedure and giving options for students of all levels allows students to find perfection of a pose from within, not as it appears on the outside. Many individuals are apprehensive of doing yoga because they believe they can't look like the individual on the cover of yoga magazine or book. I have personally observed students of all ages, abilities, and health backgrounds in Neil's class are able to participate actively and benefit from this approach. Authentic yoga emphasizes teaching. The teacher in training how to teach a pose by demonstrating and becoming aware of key points, thereby allowing the students to learn through experience, not verbal directions of where the knees or hands should be in a given pose. As a student, I have more confidence and am able to notice differences in my yoga practice. As a children's yoga teacher, I have incorporated the authentic yoga concepts of teaching yoga into my class. As a result of integrating authentic yoga's approach with other children's yoga programs, I have noticed my students are able to find center and maintain stillness in a pose by watching from within. Integrating specific concepts of authentic yoga allowed young children and preteens learn how to develop focus and concentration. I plan to continue incorporating the authentic yoga program into my children's yoga curriculum to find a balance of keeping yoga fun and teaching self-care and self-awareness. I highly recommend Authentic Yoga's teacher training program. Although this certification program is not registered with Yoga Alliance, the Authentic Yoga program meets the 200 hours RIS standards in the following categories: teaching trainings and practice, teaching methodology, yoga philosophy and lifestyle, and practicum. I was proud to earn an authentic yoga certification and am confident as teacher and individual knowing that I learned yoga and how to teach it from a classical context. I feel fortunate for having met Neil Kulkarni and having the opportunity to be trained by him. Both his knowledge and experience have enabled him to systematize classical yoga for today's world. I not only benefited from as a teacher and individual, but my family has reaped the benefits of my decision to train with Neil. Now, my husband uses yoga to complement his stressful management job as well as improve his flexibility to enhance his weight training program. I have 2 boys, 12 and 8, who have admired Neil's strength in performing challenging yoga poses. Although they only see the physical aspect of yoga, Neil is teaching them to watch from inside and to find moments of stillness and focus with the mind during their yoga practice. My 3-year-old daughter has imitated me doing yoga and is now chanting as a result of my practice. Our Sundays have now become family yoga time. It is wonderful that through my training, I was able to obtain more than a certificate. Neil Kulkarni and Authentic Yoga will now be a part of not only my life and teaching but my family's as well. Om Shanti. Vasanti Srinivasan. Bridge to Learning Dash. Children's Yoga and Fitness Programs. M. Ed. Special education / curriculum and instruction bridge to learning at AOL.com.